With a new year comes a brand new PBA Tour season. So the 2025 season starts just this week in just a few days. And here is everything you need to know about what the 2025 season holds. What are some events coming up? What are some new features that have been added to the season? And then I'm going to give some predictions on Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, some sleeper picks. We're going to talk about Battle of the Brands and who the best brands are going to be for that event. Stay tuned, leave some predictions, leave some comments down below, but let's get right into it. The first event is starting just a little bit later this week. That is the PBA Delaware Open. That is a newer event. I don't think we've gone to Delaware very often on the PBA Tour, but let's get deeper into what the season has for us. So in total, there are 18 total titles to be won in 2025. That means around 18 tournaments. Some of the tournaments have two title winners like the doubles, Marshall or the Holman Roth doubles. Other than that, pretty normal compared to other years. Not really higher or lower. It's pretty much steady because the PBA season this year is only about 4 months long. So we start this week, middle of January. We run till about the middle to endish of April, and then there's a couple extra miscellaneous events that go on throughout the year. We have the Lucy, the mixed doubles tournament. We have things like the PBA playoffs, the PBA Tour finals, a few other events that are going on. But in general, it is about a 4-month season. So we have 4 months chock full of bowling. Some of the newer things that we have this year, the biggest one that I've mentioned already is the Battle of the Brand. So for anyone who hasn't heard, the PBA is running a competition against all of the bowling ball manufacturers to see who is deemed the best on the PBA Tour. So all of the bowling ball manufacturers created rosters of players that are staffed on their companies, and then these companies are just going to battle and see who wins in some head-to-head team competition. This is taking the place of the PBA Elite League. While the PBA League worked when it first started, it hasn't really worked the last couple of years. PBA unfortunately put all of their chips into being at Bayside Bowl up in Delaware, and it just really didn't work as well, and you couldn't really get a connection with any team. So they're scrapping that idea. It was great while it lasted, but we're going to Battle of the Brand so that fans can actually get attached to certain companies. So go cheer for your favorite brand. There are some awesome teams that have been made. I'll get into that a little bit later into the video. One other key difference this year is the oil patterns being bowled on. So last year we did have a urethane rule go into effect where you had to use harder urethane bowling balls, and that was the IQ 78, and it was the new Black Hammer 78D from Hammer. And then Motive has their microcell, so they were good to go. But there was a new change in urethane. That means there were some slight changes in oil patterns, and this year they really amped it up. So they're bringing back some older oil patterns. They're modifying and updating a lot of the new ones. They did create PBA Bat. That is a brand new pattern. I believe it's about 37 feet. It's kind of just a regular, longer than cheetah, shorter than everything else pattern. But the big thing is they increased oil volume by 10 to 15% across the board. There's actually a pattern that has 37 mils of oil, which is bonkers compared to anything else you guys bowl on. So for context, your house shot at home is probably around 24 to 26 mils. So this is 10 mils more, which is an insane amount of oil for these guys. It'll be very interesting to see how that breaks down when there's so much oil compared to what it was over the last couple of years. Now, let's get into some of the players that had really successful 2024s and who could have successful 25. So back in 24, the winners of a couple of the big awards, Player of the Year went to EJ Tackett for another time. He's won it like 13 times. Not exactly, a little over exaggeration. He's won it a bunch. He had a phenomenal 2024. Rookie of the Year went to Nate Purchase, which was really cool. He is a phenomenal bowler, absolutely killed the PBA Tour, did a great job, won Rookie of the Year. But looking towards 2025, who do I see doing well? So back in 24, the top 5 point earners were EJ Tackett, Marshall Kent. We had Anthony Simonson, Bill O'Neill, and then we had Belmo sneaking into the top 5. I believe Troop was number 6. So going into 2025, I see that list pretty much staying the same. It's really been around that core group of players for the last couple of years, and a handful of them will stay in the top on 2025. I don't really see any of them jumping or decreasing. All of those bowlers stayed on the same company that they were with last year, so there's no ball brand changes. A lot of them still been bowling phenomenally in the off season, so should expect to see Simonson, EJ Tackett, Belmonte all up in that top 5. Now for a quick prediction, who do I think is going to be a sleeper pick this year? Also, leave your sleeper picks down below. Who do you think is a low-key going to be a really good player this year? My guess is Jesper. Jesper Svensson, I think, will have a phenomenal year. He had a really good 2024. He was in the top 20 in points and in earnings, so still did really well. Just didn't make the TV shows that much, which makes it a little bit tough. Only five-ish guys usually make the TV show, so fans don't really get to see a lot of the bowlers that are doing really well throughout the season. Jesper having a new urethane-like bowling ball in the Storm level hopefully is going to help him a little bit because that IQ 78 just really is not great, and he is very much specified on urethane, being a lefty, high rev lefty. A lot of the other stuff just is way too much ball for him. So hopefully the level really helps him propel up to that top 5 list. That's who I could see being a really good sleeper. Otherwise, there's a lot of phenomenal players that change companies this year. You had Andrew Anderson being one of the notable ones, moving over to Storm Bowling. So he didn't have a great USA team trials. He did pretty good. He still made Team USA off of a coach's decision, but he didn't have a stellar one. I know he wanted to do a little bit better, but being able to learn the Storm equipment a little more, it's how different it is compared to the Motive stuff. I think he could have a phenomenal year once he really gets everything clicked in. Now, talking rookie of the year, last year, like I said, was Nate Purchase. This year, we had the PBA Tour trials happen, which was a ton of bowlers across the nation, went out and bowled in a bunch of different centers on a bunch of different oil patterns to see who can be an exempt player this year. For anyone who isn't aware, the PBA is an exempt tour now, which means all of the players who have this exempt status get into every event for free. So they are full-time PBA bowlers. They do not have to pay a dime for any tournament. The PBA Tour pays for that, and everything they make ends up going back into their pocket. So this is a year that PBA bowlers can truly be really profitable, because usually PBA entry fees are around $1,000 to $1,500. They're very expensive, and then you have travel, you have food, you have hotel costs, you have a little bit of everything else. So it was pretty expensive to be a PBA bowler. This year is one where a lot of the top guys can really skyrocket and really make a ton of money. So that's a really good sign. But with the PBA Tour trials came a bunch of new rookies that are going to be bowling full time this year. Two of the notable ones, in my opinion, are Ryan Barnes and Cam Crow. Now, Cam Crow is a super strong two-handed lefty, very electric, loves to yell. He's a former, Chris Barnes likes to say, he used to play regular sports and then jumped over to bowling and has really excelled. He could be a huge one on the tour this year. The problem is lefties. Lefties can sometimes get completely shut out of tournaments on the PBA Tour. That's why you see players like Jesper Svensson, like a Matt Sanders, sometimes just really struggle because the left is just not playable at times. So while I think Cam Crow can do absolutely phenomenal on tour, I think Ryan Barnes really is going to take it over as Rookie of the Year. Now, he is by far the favorite. He just won Team USA trials by a pretty handy amount and has been dominating every tournament he's gone into the last 6 months to a year. So I can see him doing really well. Easily probably should win Rookie of the Year, by far the favorite. Now, my prediction for player of the year is going to be Anthony Simonson. While EJ won it last year and has been doing phenomenal, I see Simo really picking it up again this year. He's been going all over the place with some business decisions and things like that the last couple of years, but now, since he's going to be making all of this money, it's all profitable, and he is a pretty decent money guy in that way. I really could see him just absolutely crushing the tour. A little bit of extra volume of oil could really help him out a little bit. He can do more things, more tricks than any player on tour, in my opinion. So I could see him having just the best 2025. I see him, he already is one of the favorites anyway, but I see him being the #1 for the season. And finally, let's go into some Battle of the Brands winners. This is a brand new format, like I mentioned earlier in the video, that the PBA is bringing on. I really love the idea of Battle of the Brands. I'm really excited to watch it. Good job. Shout out Tom Clark. Shout out all the bowling ball manufacturers for being in on this idea and really wanting to do it. But what are some predictions for who's going to win that? So there's going to be one winner at the end of the PBA Tour season. There's going to be a big buildup throughout the year that all of these companies will go head to head against each other, kind of like just a regular season in other sports. So who do I see as best? We have the rosters, we have the information. I really see two brands being the top of the top, and that's going to be Storm and Hammer. Now, Storm has just a star-studded cast. They have Belmo, they have Simo, they have Troop, they have Svensson, they have D-Tang. They have just a nutty team. They have a bunch of player of the years all around and a ton of titles. But then we have Hammer, who can sneak in. They had a lot of top 20 point earners last year, leading the way Marshall Kent, the #2 point earner. And the big one for me, Hammer has the Black Hammer. That is just the best urethane on the market. So I really see Hammer being able to step it up that extra little bit, being able to take out a lot of teams by solely having the best urethane on the market. That is going to be an absolutely huge step up compared to every other brand. So I really see them propelling too. And out of these two teams, with all the reasons that I just said, I see Hammer coming out on top unless Storm can win by just sheer experience and sheer talent on something where urethane is blocked out like a longer pattern or some of the new patterns this year. Otherwise, with that, I see Hammer really taking it over. Urethane still runs the PBA Tour and top tier tournaments in bowling, so having the best urethane in your hands gives you just that nice leg up compared to people who do not. Now, this could flip on its head depending on how that storm level truly is. We don't really know that much. At team trials, it was barely thrown. However, staffers had it in their hands for like a week before that event. So we haven't really seen it in action on tour in any tour like scenario. Bradley Open that just happened. Shout out Brad Miller for the win, by the way. It was not usable. The Bradley has way too much oil for a urethane to be used. You need a ton of surface and definitely a strong core for that. So we haven't really seen the level. If the level ends up being just a top tier bowling ball, I could see Storm really just crushing the battle of the brands. But without that, I'm not really sure. Sleeper pick out of all of them, however, is going to be Deviate Bowling. Now, Deviate has filled their roster with almost all two-handers, and that's kind of the direction they're going. They're trying to be Brunswick's two-handed company, really cool. But the big thing why I think they'll do well is they have a massive amount of just hype and electricity on their team. So they have Simonelli and Cam Crow. I mentioned Cam earlier in the video, super electric guy, but then you have Simonelli with him who really likes to get in people's faces, really likes to yell a lot, and I think that can help in team bowling a little bit. If they start having some fun with it, playing with the crowd, that momentum and hype can really just keep building up and go through the rest of your teammates, even the ones who are a little more calm, and they could really take out a couple teams with that in mind. So I'm really excited to see how Battle of the Brands goes. I really see Storm and Hammer taking it over, but Deviate could be a sleeper. But with that, that is an overview of the 2025 PBA Tour season. If you guys want to watch the tour, it's all on Bowl TV this year. It's about $180 for a yearly subscription. Otherwise, per month is about $18 to $20. So that is another option if you just want to get 4 months of Bowl TV. That might be a slightly more economic option for you if you want to watch tour. Otherwise, the PBA telecast will be on Fox and FS1. Go check out the PBA Tour website. I'll have it down below in the description if you want to check out what site and what times all of those events are going to be. Otherwise, throughout the year, I will have recaps and previews of every single PBA event. Nobody really does that on YouTube, which is kind of weird. So we're going to be the first, really go into the PBA Tour, talk about it a little bit more. Who knows, maybe we'll get some more insights onto the tour, some more inside news on the players and the equipment being used and all of that. So make sure to subscribe so you stay notified on all of this news, on all bowling news going on. Otherwise, thank you for watching and have a great rest of your day and see you on the next one.